the day.
Warrington's season goes on the line tonight. If they lose against Bradford Northern, they can kiss goodbye to the title. They'll be 9 points adrift of the unbeaten league leaders. Wilderspool stages a real four-pointer.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise, playing in the street, gonna be a big man someday. You got mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your can all over the place, singing, we will rock you. We will rock you. Buddy, you're a young man, hard man, shouting in the street, gonna take all the world someday. You got blood on your face, a big disgrace, waving your banner all over the place. We will rock you. Sing it. We will rock you. Everybody, we will rock you. Oh, we will rock you. All right.
The two sides who pushed Wigan all the way for the championship last season are chasing 2 championship points tonight, and it really is a vital game for Warrington. Let me just repeat, a defeat for Warrington against Bradford Northern, they will be 9 points adrift of the league leaders. That's just how important this match is. They will be able to kiss goodbye to the title if they lose this evening. Now, joining Steve-O and me in the studio is a former Warrington forward, Mike Nicholas, now the manager of Wales, of course. And Mike, plenty of Welshmen for you to have a look at out there tonight, bearing in mind the date you've got with the Aussies on the 30th of October.
Yes, we've got Bateman and Jonathan Davis and Yesson Harris out tonight, and also Gerald Cordell, who's lining up for Bradford. And also there's Dave Watson and David Frace, who will be in the World Cup next year against us.
So it really is an international occasion here at Wilderspool this evening. But Mike, you've seen the Australians now in 2 matches, Cumbria against Leeds, and they've just swept the opposition aside. Aren't you a bit worried?
Yes, well, Clive Griffiths and myself went to Leeds looking for deficiencies in their game, and we just came away really impressed. They've got so much going for them, everything's done at pace, different tempo, different level, and we know we've got a lot to go against at the end of the month.
Absolutely. By the way, don't forget, October the 30th, you'll be able to see Wales against Australia right here on Sky Sports in our Sunday slot at 7:30. Steve-O, you obviously have got to be impressed with the Aussies, the way they've started. 4 years on, well, it could be 1982 we're looking at here, couldn't it? Invincibles Mark III, perhaps.
Well, I know that the Australians are very confident of going through the entire tour undefeated. Bobby Fulton wants that. In fact, he wants to emulate the previous coaches that have come over. I think they've started out very, very well indeed. They really mean business. Let's face it, 100 points with only 14 points against. Another thing that perhaps people don't realise in this country, that the season that's just finished out in Australia, it's the first time that the Australians have actually played under the new rule that we brought in, and that was taking the defensive side back the 10 metres. It has been the highest scores in the Winfield competition, and when you've got 100 points with the first 2 games, I think that we could have a lot of trouble holding them because our defence is back another 5 metres.
Well, that's true. The Wigan, of course, are next in line against them tomorrow. Then we've got the Test matches. I mean, can they go through unbeaten? Do you see us being whitewashed in the Test series?
Well, they've got off to a great start. They're a very confident side. They always are. The Australians come over here. They want to just inflict as much pain as possible. It's a job now. They don't come over here and have a bit of a laugh. They will when they've got the Ashes sorted out. Believe you me, Bobby Fulton will have these guys really, really fine-tuned. They've got to get back into it. But we've got to do what wasn't shown with Leeds. We've got to knock them down. We can't just stand back and allow them to run. They'll run riot.
Mike Nicholas, all these statistics, 100 points in the first 2 matches. Are you quaking in your boots sitting there listening to all this?
No, not really. We realise what we're up against, and we've got a game plan. As everybody knows at Warrington, Jonathan's got quite a good kicking game. We hope to apply that, really.
Well, let's hope that it all goes right for Wales on the 30th of October. Don't forget, let me say once again, you'll be able to see it here on Sky Sports exclusive Sunday the 30th of October at 7:30. So the Aussies very much in town, and it really has been a very big week for the game of rugby league over the past 7 days. Framing the Future was voted for unanimously by all the clubs at a special meeting at Rugby League headquarters on Wednesday. So we now have a Premier Division coming into being next season, and one of the leading lights in terms of the Premier Division and the way it was taken forward is the Warrington chairman Peter Hyam, and he's now downstairs with our reporter there, Bill Arthur.
Thanks, Eddie. As you say, the meeting on Wednesday voted in favour of the setting up of a Premier League and various other fairly dramatic changes to the game. The Warrington chairman, Peter Hyam, was one of those advocates of the setting up of a Premier League. Peter, what exactly does it mean?
Well, I think prior to Wednesday, the game wasn't going anywhere, but I would imagine that from now on, we're going to move on at a tremendous pace. The product that we have on the field is quite good, exceptional, really. And I think what we want to try and do is to improve it, but also at the same time improve the facilities for the paying spectator, also improve the development of the game. There is a lot of money coming into the game over the next 5 years, and we just want to ensure that it goes to the supporters and the development of the game, and it isn't wasted. And this is what setting up a Premier League will achieve, is it? And the various other moves that are going to be made now? Yes, there's a lot of things that's in the document that haven't been published, or nobody's bothered to read anyway, regarding the administration at the grounds, the commercial setups at the ground. At the moment, there's tremendous opportunities for us all, and at the moment, we're not really taking them. Of course, the second division clubs, or some second division clubs, have said that while this is going to be good for the Premier League, it's going to mean that the second division clubs really go out of business. Do you see that happening? No, I think the problem is that the majority of the second division clubs work very hard at the game, and it was obvious on Wednesday, the way that the voting went, that they were in favour of a Premier League. There are still a few clubs that just don't really help themselves, and they've got to realise that they've got to work. The first division clubs, or the Premier Division clubs as they will be in the future, have to work very hard at the game. And if you just go through the figures and see the way that the turnover in these clubs has multiplied over the last 10 years, you'll see why the first division clubs have moved on, and a lot of the second division clubs have just stood still. But I think that's all over and done with now. I think we're all going to progress, even including the second division clubs, and also the Conference League, and also the schoolboys and the amateur game. There was tremendous pressure put on the board of directors the other day from the first division clubs to ensure that the money came into the game was used to develop the game and not just to develop the Premier Division, because it's at grassroots level that we've got to improve our game, basically, anyway. Thanks very much, Peter.
Talking a lot of sense there, Peter Hyam, the Warrington chairman. You've got to develop the game through from grassroots level and up to the Premier League, as it will be this time next season. Steve-O, Framing the Future is through. A lot of people, I think you included, quite surprised it went through on a unanimous vote.
Well, I'm glad that it did go through, and I don't know so much about the unanimous situation because, as Peter mentioned there's quite a few clubs still a little bit concerned about it all. As it gets down to money, and let's face it, we just can't let the tail wag the dog, which has been going on for far too long. I'm glad that common sense has come through, but let's not forget what it was said there as well, that we must start getting into the schools. If you don't have the youngsters coming into the game, we will finish up without a game. That is a very important facet. We've had too many problems with the Bala war over the past 3 or 4 years. We've got to really get down and grasp it now. Now that we're all supposedly together, and if it's unanimous, then let's run with it. And now we've got the ball, we've got to get it right. And it's at management level. As I said, the product out there is wonderful. We've got to get the management level really firing. You can't afford players if you can't have the cash. You've got to get it right. And I think we can get it right.
Well, that's the big hope, of course, that now the game can be taken on a pace. Mike Nicholas, of course, is from the Welsh side of things, isn't he, as being the Welsh team manager. Mike, you know how difficult it is to get the game off the ground from grassroots, from your experiences in South Wales, I'm sure.
Yeah, a lot of people have been critical of this Framing the Future. And there's a lot of reference to from people about fudging the future and preserving the past. Personally, I think the Rugby League are taking the right step, and it's a step in the right direction. I mean, down in Wales, We tried in 1980-81 with David Watkins, and it was very difficult. But I think the time is right now for a return there. We've got a league there, and we've got a development officer there, and hopefully we can do something about it down there.
Can you see this game, gentlemen, being a national sport within, what, the next 5-10 years?
Not within the next 5 or 10. No, it's going to take a lot longer than that, because we've got to... Before, they took a team down to Wales, they had the professionals there, and they expected people to come along and see it. Some did. But you must have junior development, and this is what this Framing the Future is all about, that each individual club must have so many junior development areas, and once you've got that, then you can start with it, because once youngsters start playing the game, you've got the lifeblood to take you through for success. If there's nothing there in the first place, it's got to be a loser.
Well, exciting times for the game of rugby league, and exciting times for the big league coming up here on Sky Sports tonight, because we've got Warrington against Bradford Northern, the two sides who took Wigan so close in the race for the championship last season. And we'll run through the international team lineups that we've got for you tonight right after these. Bradford Northern, who are unbeaten so far. In fact, they are 100%ers so far, 8 out of 8. Can they maintain that record here at Wilderspool tonight? The 1st Battalion of the Queen's Lancashire Regiment are here tonight with us and are entertaining the crowd as they make their way to Wilderspool for this match. Well, let's now trace the history of our hosts tonight, Warrington. Some great names have played for this club down the years, you know, including our studio guest this evening, Mike Nicholas. Well, here now, Bill Arthur looks back down the years.
Rugby has been played in Warrington since the late 19th century.
It was an amalgamation of 4 local rugby union clubs in 1879 that started Warrington.
Through the 20s and 30s, Warrington made progress as Lancashire Cup winners and championship runners-up. In the 40s, a small, bald, ex-Australian sailor called Brian Bevan proved an unlikely prize catch.
Brian joined Warrington in 1945, and he was such a success he was immediately signed. He'd previously been taken by Bill Shanklin to Leeds, and Leeds turned him down. But he was a legend in this town, and he'd never be forgotten.
Warrington won their first championship in 1948, and this remarkable era included a first Wembley victory in 1950.
I remember queuing at 6:30 in the morning to queue for stand tickets for Wembley. To go to Wembley, of course, and to come away, win, and that was our first success at Wembley, which made it all the more acceptable. Then in 1954, we then played Halifax at Wembley with a draw of 4-4. Then we went on for the world record crowd at Bradford Northern at Odswell. There were 102,500 people on the ground. I was one of them, crushed to death, but I enjoyed it. 1954, of course, was a 4-cup season for us.
The 60s, though, were wilderness years at Wilderspool, but by the 70s, Warrington had completely recovered.
In 1974, we went off to Wembley again because we'd brought Alec Murphy in as player coach, built up a wonderful team, take us to Wembley, where we beat Featherstone Rovers in 1974. Then we went again in 1975, and unfortunately we were beaten by Widnes. We won the Regal Trophy on 2 occasions. We'd been to Wembley. It was great to finish up there at the top with Bradford, Northern and Wigan last season. So I think we've a lot to be proud of.
Clary Owen, the president of Warrington Rugby League Club, and he does tireless work for this club, I'll tell you, nipping up to Cumbria on every occasion to go on scouting missions. A lot of the team in this Warrington colours at the moment come from that part of the world. Right, time for us now to check out the 2 teams for you tonight here on the Big League. The fullbacks, the Academy International Lee Penny and New Zealand Test star David Watson. Wings, 9-try Mark Forster and Welshman Gerald Cordell, one of 4 players hoping to face the Aussies in Cardiff later this month, involved in tonight's game. Here's another of them, young Iestyn Harris, and it's David Myers for Northern. Centre, the French Test star David Frace, and yet another Welshman, Alan Bateman, who's hoping for an improvement in Warrington's fortunes.
We just haven't been playing well. There's a lot of lack of concentration, and our defence has been very slack. I think we definitely can do better than we've done so far this season.
They're top of the table. A win for you against Bradford Northern might, even at this early stage, alter things again.
Yeah, in last year we were out of the race at least 3, perhaps 4 different times in the season, and we just kept our heads up, kept on going. And if we can do it this year, if we can get a couple of wins under our belt, and we have to start. We need to win all our games up until Christmas, and hopefully we'll start on Friday and we win with a chance again.
And this should be quite a contest. Jonathan Davis and Paul Newlove, 2 of the best in the world. Stand-off Francis Maloney on his home debut, and Neil Summers, the form number 6 in the competition just now. Scrum half Australian Greg Mackey and the excellent Derek Fox, who's delighted with the current form, particularly last Sunday's win at Hull.
Hull last year probably cost us the championship, and we knew that with the beat side like that, Warrington again, they'll pick for the championship and they'll want to get her back on winning ways. I know they beat Doncaster a fortnight ago, but they're coming up against a side now who's top of the tree, and everyone wants to beat somebody who's top of the tree.
But when you're top of the tree and unbeaten, confidence must be sky high.
Oh, it is. Throughout the camp and throughout the club, the confidence is extremely high. We know that we've got to keep winning from week to week because we've got to aim for the big W. We've got to beat Wigan eventually, and if we keep the form and beat Warrington tomorrow night, we do go 4 points clear to Wigan on the weekend.
Up front, teenager Mark Hilton and former British international Roy Powell. One of those Cumbrians, Gary Tees, and the Kiwi Eugene Bourneville, who's back after injury. Hooker is Warrington's John Thursfield under pressure. There's much talk of a new number 9 joining the club soon. And Jason Donoghue, he makes his full Bradford debut. Second row is former international Paul Dixon, and Paul Cullen sent off against Bradford last month, and he knows just how important tonight is.
Our performance at Hull in the first game of the season was woeful. We've failed against Sheffield. We failed against Featherstone Rovers. I played some very good rugby indeed against Bradford Northern in the first half, and also in our victory over St Helens. 1 or 2 decent victories in between that. So, and to be honest, we've not hit anywhere near our potential for this season so far. We cannot afford any losses at all from now on if we still want to stay in the championship race. And we see Bradford Northern as nothing more than our next hurdle.
Aussie Bruce Maguire and Carl Furbank, who's been on the international scene for Great Britain since 1987. And at loose forward, New Zealand's Kelly Shelford and Brian McDermott. The coaches, Australian against Britain, it's Brian Johnson from Down Under and Bradford's Peter Fox. You know, they talk about Premier League, but this really is the Premier League just a bit early. 41 matches played, Bradford really do hold the upper hand. 26 wins from those 41 matches that have been played since 1974. This season, well, stand by for some tries tonight. They have run in between them 75 4-pointers, and the season's not 5 minutes old. Warrington have played 8, they've won 50%, they've lost 3, that could be crucial at the end of the season. And look at Bradford's record, it's unblemished. And this is where they are in the table. Bradford lead 2 points ahead of Wigan, who have a game in hand after this weekend. It will be 2 games in hand. Warrington in 5th, 9 points from 8 matches. Steve, as I say, Premier League is all the talk. This is the Premier League with these two.
There's some great players out there tonight. Well, Warrington a little bit confused as far as I'm concerned, because they really have not got it right. They're 6s and 7s we saw against Doncaster. Maloney and Mackey, well, they played okay, but really the forward power is not there that we saw from last season, and that has to be the big question mark over the Warrington side. Can the backs get the ball, but the forwards have to work for it first. Return of Jonathan Davis, that's going to help. Got to be.
Yes, he's back after injury. His Welsh team manager, Mike Nicholas, is with us here tonight as well. Mike, I just wonder, are you as surprised as everybody else why Warrington at the moment aren't getting it right compared to last season?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise. I actually went to the game at Bradford early in the season. They gave Bradford one of their better games this season, and but for an unfortunate sending off, they could have easily won that game. And it'll be interesting to see how they go tonight.
I suppose had Warrington won that match against Bradford, we wouldn't really be talking about a mini crisis. I mean, is that too strong a phrase to use?
I don't think so. I think that they are in a crisis. They have a problem. I mean, I know that Jonathan Davis hasn't been playing all the way through the season, and they need him. His kicking ability, he takes control there, and that is one reason why they will be in with a chance tonight. If his kicking game is on song, then he will be turning Bradford around time and time again. But Warrington are a team without confidence, playing a team which is chock-a-block, full of confidence. Bradford, they are really on song. And the most important factor, they have the best defensive record in all the big league. Only 72 points scored against them in 8 games. That is good defending.
It certainly is. I mean, we've talked a lot about Warrington, but my word, Bradford Northern, clear leaders, 8 out of 8, 100%. They're going so well.
They are, and unfortunately for their young hooker Hepworth, a bad injury to that youngster. But it's amazing that when things are just on song, everything seems to fall into place. Jason Donahue, they brought him in as a backup player in the half-back position, and these days he switches straight into the hooking role. He came on against Hull, had a tremendous game, and I think we'll see a good game from him tonight.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will see a great Sky Classic. We come to expect them now on Friday nights, don't we? And they don't come much bigger than these two. Warrington against Bradford Northern. We have the whole match coming up for you here on the Big League tonight. The two sides who pushed Wigan so close last season are head-to-head on the Big League.
You're watching Sky Sports.
He'll take good care of that, just like Boots Opticians did with me. Very thorough eye test. The optician made it clear exactly what was right for me, and it was only £12. As for frames, it was good to get some...
Be 9 points adrift